Hello, this is Justin Williams with the Wolfpacker Podcast. I'm joined today, as always, by editor of the Wolfpacker.com and fellow co-host Matt Carter. And today we've got a lot to catch up on. We've got some catching up to do about that NC State Boston College game on Saturday. I know some loyal listeners have been reaching out to us saying, where was our post-game reflections podcast? Well, we are going to give you our post-game reflections on this podcast. Plus, we're going to preview the upcoming Louisville matchup a little bit. And if there's time permitting at the end, we might even address the NC State men's basketball team coming off a win last night, 3-0 on the season. Not many legit tests, at least until they go down to the Bahamas next week, when we're going to learn a whole lot more about that team. So if time doesn't permit, we will sure to be talking plenty about them in the upcoming near future. But before we get into our sports talk, some reminders for the listeners and viewers at home. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google Play. You can also always watch us on YouTube, where you should subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment while you're at it. Head over to thewolfpacker.com right now and take advantage of a special deal. For just $10, you can get premium subscription to thewolfpacker.com as part of the On3 network through the beginning of next college football season. So that's going to take you through the end of August 2023. Better part of a year there. We've still got the rest of football season to go. We've got basketball season. We've got spring sports coming up. We've got a ton of recruiting that's going to happen between now and then. And of course, that's going to take you basically all the way through your preseason coverage of the 2023 football team, which I know it's not what we want to hear, but at least there's some promising, good-looking young talent on this team. I know. We've heard it so many times before, but I will say I am excited to see what the future holds for NC State football. But we're going to talk about the present on this podcast. And before we do, last but certainly not least, head over to rogueshop.com. That's ROGUE shop.com. Rogueshop.com, proud sponsors of the Wolfpacker Podcast. Go there for your premium CBD and Delta 8 products. They've got all kinds of great products, whether it's cannabis itself, oils, cartridges, lotions, edibles, all types of great stuff. You name it, it's there. If you're a regular user of cannabis, CBD, Delta 8, head over there, try out the rogueshop.com's products. They've got some really high-grade quality premium products, and it's a small business. It's not some big company with, hundreds of people working there. This is a small mom and pop business that you can support. Husband and wife. The husband is a disabled veteran that was turned on to these natural products to help him with some of his stress and anxiety, sleep deprivation, chronic pain, and inflammation. These are all great products to help you treat some of those things naturally. So, and he had such a great experience by going the natural route that he wanted to create this business so he could share it with folks like you. So head over to rogueshop.com, ROGUE shop.com, and go support them. They support us, and you can support us by supporting them. So, Matt, let's address the elephant in the room. I saw the message board a little bit. I saw that we've got a loyal audience, and shout out to our loyal audience. And would like to issue an apology for not getting that post-game reflections pod out in a timely fashion. As our loyal listeners know, Matt and I live on separate coasts. I'm on the West Coast. Matt's back in the Triangle. He lives in Durham, but is there at every game. And sometimes those time differences don't sync up. I'll put my hand up. I was probably more at fault for this one because it's Matt's full-time job to cover the Wolfpack, so I'm sure he could have made time. It was more on me. I was playing in a golf tournament Saturday morning that I did not want to miss. I was thinking that this would be the game to miss. Boston College. Whatever. I'll miss the quarter and a half, whatever. I did get back home for the second quarter to watch the rest of the game, and what I figured out when I went back and watched the condensed game is I missed the best part of the game for NC State to watch, which was the first 20, 25 minutes. I was like, what? Where was this team for the final 40 minutes of the game? So Matt, NC State goes down 21-20, and just going back to that condensed game, so many things had to go right for Boston College and wrong for NC State for this to even be the outcome that we got. Now, NC State is certainly at fault for putting it itself in position to lose in a manner such as it did. But the final drive for Boston College was just the most excruciating, hair-pulling, mind-numbing sequence of events that you'll see in football. Now, that said, NC State's been on the beneficiary end of those types of games and situations over the past year. You can think back to the UNC game last year. You can think back to the Florida State game this year. You can think back to the Virginia Tech game specifically just a couple weeks ago. Matt, it's an ugly loss. There's no way around it. What are your takeaways?
Rather it be an ugly win. I mean, that's the kind of, to me, it was the East Carolina game all over again, with the exception of Boston College didn't miss a kick or a field goal to end the game. I mean, it was just, you felt like NC State should have been up by more on East Carolina. You felt like one score, the game's over against East Carolina. They didn't get it. Next thing you know, they are on their heels, holding on desperately. Same thing happened in Boston College. It should not have been in that situation. We'll talk about why it got to that situation, but that's the bottom line. Now, look, I'm in the camp of I know Dave Doran and Tony Gibson. Doran very publicly, Gibson more biting his tongue. I did not think that was pass interference on Drake Thomas. I watched the replay of the game. I saw what the TV commentators were saying it was. I think they had it wrong. At least Justin can correct me. At least I believe the TV commentators were saying it was the right call.
I did not. They were, but I don't believe it was a pass interference.
Yeah, I think Drake Thomas was making a play on the ball. He had both hands in front of him. He was making a play on the football. Interfering with the receiver means that you interfere with the receiver's ability to make a catch while you're not trying to make a play on the ball. If you're two guys both going for the football and you make contact and you both meet at a spot where that football gets there, Drake Thomas has the right for that space too, if he's making a play on the football. And so, that's what's tough about it. It's tough for the double whammy. Should have had an ugly win. That was fourth down, the game's over. But that doesn't excuse the fact that it was ugly. It was ugly. And then it turns into an ugly loss, which makes it a real double whammy. And it was just so, there was no way the game should have gotten to that point. I mean, the 14-0 lead they took in the first quarter was the easiest 14-0 lead NC State got in a game this year. 2 3-and-outs for Boston College, only 1 third down for NC State, which only came because on first down, Demi Sumo-Kambe gained 8 yards. And then on second down, he twisted his ankle right after he got the handoff and lost 2 yards, and it came 3rd and 4. That was the lone third down NC State had on those 2 drives where they scored touchdown. I mean, it should have been covering the spread territory. And instead, the offense completely got out of rhythm. We've seen it before this season, and unfortunately, it reared its ugly head. And the defense was being asked to bail them out. And I do, if I had one question above all about some of the decisions that were made in that game, I think not being aggressive, trying to get first down there with about 3 minutes left would have been up at the top of the list. I think you cannot ask. I think they were banking on the defense bailing them out for what really would have been about the 5th or 6th time. You're pressing your luck at that point, especially in 2-minute situation where the game speeds up dramatically, and all it takes is one play, and then the next thing you know, you're on your heels. Like when the quarterback throws an ill-advised pass, but I think it was Devin Boykin, didn't quite get a great read on it, and then missed time to jump. And the receiver turns it into, I think, a 39-yard gain or a 29-yard gain or something like that. That's a huge play, and next thing you know, they're in business. And so that would be there are a lot of things you can obviously question, but to me, with not being more aggressive there, especially on third down after BC had just caught a timeout with like 2:50 or 3 minutes left to go for the first down instead of just hand off right up the middle, literally. And I thought they were asking for trouble at that point.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, you got a lot of trust in your defense, and it was another game where the defense, for all intents and purposes, played a strong game, was burned by some costly penalties, did create 3 turnovers.
They
But
played well enough to win.
the fact of the matter is, though, Zay Flowers, they said this on the broadcast, and it's correct. Zay Flowers was the best player on that field. And doesn't matter how bad that team is, if you have the best player on the field, he can make plays. And he made a couple. I mean, made more than a couple, but at least a couple that ended up in points on the board for Boston College. 7 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of his touchdowns seemed like big explosive plays. And we kind of expected that Boston College's best punch here was going to be, could Zay Flowers get in the end zone a couple times? And I mean, it seems like the best case scenario for Boston College points total wise was probably always going to be about 21 points. And they got everything they could possibly get basically against this defense. There was an opportunity in the first half, Matt. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on the situation. Dave Doran's been pretty aggressive on 4th down opportunities, especially in the red zone this season. The situation was Boston College had just scored its first touchdown. So it was 14-7, second quarter. NC State had a 7-play, 65-yard drive, 6-play, 65-yard drive before that fourth and goal, but it was, from about the 2-yard line or so. To go up 2 possessions in that situation, it's an automatic 3 points if you roll Chris Dunn out there. I get in that specific time in the game where if you can get a touchdown on the board, it becomes a 2-touchdown game, and you don't think Boston College is probably going to be able to even score 2 touchdowns. But again, when you've got a defense rolling like this against the offense that is very, very limited, I think that's probably one that, all of us in hindsight would probably have wanted the 3 points there, because that could have made the difference between an ugly win and an ugly loss. I'm not going to put anybody on blast for that decision, because frankly, in the same scenario, I probably would have made the same decision. I like to lean aggressive versus being conservative. However, I also am not the one that makes millions of dollars to coach a football team. So that's why I'm not in charge. But it was just one observation that when I went back and watched the game, I was like, man, that was a crucial 3 points. That was the game right there. It could have been the game.
Yeah, in hindsight, that would definitely 3 points, the game's over. I like that.
Especially if you know that your strategy in the second half is going to be, okay, let's just try to control the clock. Let's just try to keep him at arm's distance. Like it was kind of conflicting strategy, right? Like if you're going to go aggressive there, then why not go aggressive in the second half?
I think the way the game played out probably altered. I don't know if they suspected they weren't going to be aggressive in the second half. I think 3 turnovers changed the complexion of the second half, 2 of which were going to be downfield throw. One was a downfield throw that MJ Moore just completely
just a bad throw.
Which happens. Not to say he's a bad quarterback.
Still saw the flashes early on.
Yeah, it looked like they were waiting for a downfield pass to unfold, and he just got stripped. So I think that kind of changed, but I'm with you. Knowing now, if you knew then what you know now, of course you take the 3 points and you win the game. You would have been up 2 possessions. It totally changes everything for the second half in particular. But at the time, you just need a yard. Offense had been playing pretty well, and it just so happened that I went back and watched the play. I think it was Chandler Javala was pulling one of your best offensive linemen, and he got beat by the nose guard. at Boston College. And initially, it looked like it when you play that play slowly, it looks like it's unfolding nicely. And then the nose tackle split past Javala, and I think Penix couldn't quite hold his block, and Morris got beat. I think if Morris had bounced outside, he might have had a lane. You know what? The what if game I play more is the play before that. What if Jordan Houston doesn't stumble when he gets past the defender? The defender just got barely enough of Jordan Houston to make him stumble, and he couldn't keep his balance and fell down at the 1 yard line. If he just holds on to his balance, they score there. And when there was a lot of that type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
What if MJ Morris doesn't, have a bad exchange with the running back on a read option and fumble the ball over at midfield? What if the ref doesn't throw a flag? There's a lot of that type of stuff in this game. The bottom line was, you push. It was just one of those games that the stars did not align for NC State. It was very much reminiscent of the Wake Forest game that was such a bummer in 2018 and how it unfolded. That Wake Forest game never should have gotten to that point. It did, and then boom, in the last 20, 30 seconds, they get the big touchdown to win the game. And, if State makes the first down on the drive before that, the game's over, right? And it's very similar to that. At least that Wake Forest team was a bowl team. And we now know Jamie Newman was a great quarterback who was having his breakout game. This Boston College team is a 7-loss team. And, that's just a bad look. It's just a bad look. Maybe that quarterback ends up being something. He had a nice arm, all of that, but you just can't. That's just a tough one to swallow. That's what makes it really difficult, because they've been heartbreaking losses, but they've been to teams that you're kind of like, oh, that's Wake Forest. Wake Forest always does that to NC State, or something like that. This was Boston College, that Boston College team.
Yeah.
And that's
especially with the 3 games you had left and the situation you were in at 7-2, you're thinking, all right, we got 3 games left. If the stars align, we can get to 10-2. This week's got to be the easiest one. It's the only one left at home. It's senior day. You're playing arguably one of the worst teams in the ACC. And like I said, I mean, every little bounce, every little break had to go Boston College's way. And, the poor outcome for NC State for this to be the outcome that happened. But NC State's still clearly a better team than Boston College. It doesn't really change my opinion of this team, because we've known all along that the offense has always been limited. I think what makes this loss sting more, other than what we've already said, is the fact that that Wake Forest game gave you a glimmer of hope that there was the NC State team that everyone was kind of expecting this season. Even after you lose Devin Leary, your starting quarterback, the ACC preseason player of the year, out for the season, then you bring in the true freshman, and he looks great in his first 5 quarters of important football. So yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I guess we should probably start looking ahead to the Louisville game here, Matt, because there's 2 more games left, and it's NC State's probably going to be the underdog in these last 2 games. They already are the underdog against Louisville, 4-point favorite, home team up in Louisville, and UNC is certainly going to be a favorite next week when NC State goes to Chapel Hill. I have seen rumors on Twitter, Matt, about the injury status or lack thereof of MJ Morris, the starting quarterback. What can you speak to? And all we know, right, is officially that he's going to play according to the depth chart, right? That's all we know.
All we officially know, right? But yeah,
that's all I know. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not an insider at all. For all, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't believe NC State Twitter half the time. So I don't know what to make of it.
We'll have to wait and see on Saturday, right? And look, nobody can deny the rumors are out there. Probably a bit irresponsible how the rumors got out there in the first place, but I think some of the initial rumors regarding about MJ Morris may have been exaggerated. Might be the word I used. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And there's been some information we put on the premium message board if you want to check it out. I talked about it a little bit in the chat. But, I think what's more important is the collective health of the offense when we're talking about Louisville, because it's not just MJ Morris. It's all Grant Gibson go down. And big guys getting an ankle or a foot or knee injury, that's kind of a double whammy, but that's not 200 pounds they're walking around on that leg. That's 300 plus pounds they're walking around on that leg. And they take longer to heal from those ankle sprains or knee sprains or whatever it may be. So you got that.
And he's got a pro career to think about.
Yep, you got Trent Penix, clearly something with the shoulder again, that he missed 6 games with the shoulder injury. Just didn't feel it out there. It was pretty clear he was trying to gut it out. You got Demi Sumo, clearly that ankle wasn't 100%. He went down. Yeah, you played the game without Devin Carter. You played the game without Tyler Baker-Williams on defense. But I think the more pressing issue is offense. It's just all these guys. Look, MJ Morris was limping. We all saw that. So we can't hide the fact that he was limping around out there. So you got all these banged up guys on offense. And you're going up against a Louisville defense that is wickedly aggressive. One of the country's leaders in sacks per game. They had 7 against Virginia. They had 8 against Wake Forest. They had 4 against Florida State, 4 against Central Florida. They're going to get after you. And they also, by the way, will turn you over a lot. Florida State is a bit over reliable.
Great timing.
Yeah. Florida State, 2 turnovers. South Florida, 3 turnovers. Boston College, 3 turnovers. Virginia, 3 turnovers. Pittsburgh, 4 turnovers. Clemson, 3 turnovers. So we all know about Wake Forest, 8 turnovers against Louisville. But don't let that fool you. They turn over teams a ton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 of the last 8 games, teams have turned it over 3 times or more against Louisville. So this is an aggressive defense that gets after you. They go for tackles. They're disruptive, and they're looking to force turnovers, and it's a variety of ways. They got 14 interceptions. They got 13 fumbles. So it's not one of those situations where, okay, completed a pass. You gotta. It's going to be a very tall test for whoever is out there. But if MJ Morris can go, don't breathe a sigh of relief. This is a true freshman going against maybe the most disruptive, aggressive defense in the ACC. So then the $1 million question is, Justin, does Malik Cunningham play? And how does that affect the matchup?
Well, if he does not play, then NC State's defense is always a force to reckon with. If he does play, the expectations become more like the expectations for the Wake Forest game, which is, can you slow him down?
Yeah.
If he plays, it's hard to see. I mean, it's hard to see NC State win a path to victory just based on how the offense looked last week. Can maybe NC State's offense comes back to Wake Forest form, but you kind of at a loss for words when you seemingly see so much progress in a matter of weeks, and then it just all regresses back to where the offense was before everything happened. So now I will say this: Law of the Wolf. Shout out to Joe Giglio for the Law of the Wolf. It does seem to be, it seems to happen a lot where NC State goes into these games and you just expect nothing, and you're just so beaten and battered, and you're not even excited about the game, and then NC State, goes up there and and shocks everybody and looks good and puts together a complete game and comes back with the road victory and goes into the last week of the season with 8 wins, an opportunity to get a ninth against your arch rival. And you'd still be ranked, by the way. NC State somehow still ranked in the college football playoff poll at 24, for whatever that's worth. Won't be if they lose this weekend. So if you want to retain that college football playoff poll ranking, you're gonna have to win this week. Likely gonna have to win in week 13 against the Tar Heels. But yeah, I guess my expectation is that NC State doesn't win this game, but my experience of watching NC State my entire life is these are the exact type of games where, maybe something happens where you're not expecting, because none of us were expecting Boston College to win last week, and none of us were expecting NC State to be down 21-3 against Virginia Tech at home. And nobody was expecting NC State to cruise to victory like it did against Wake Forest. So really the last 3 weeks, just throw out the expectations, because the game has gone completely different than what we've expected. And maybe that'll happen again this weekend.
Well, I tell you, I think the reason Malik Cunningham makes everything in this game, and with him, you're talking about a quarterback that rushed for an average of 62 yards per game, who throws for, between his passing and running yards, he's averaging almost 235 yards per game. He's the most explosive athletic quarterback. Now, what did NC State struggle with? What's been the one Achilles heel of the defense this year?
Dual threat quarterbacks.
Yep. So,
yep. I know.
The backup, Brock Doman, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his last name, number 19, not an athletic quarterback. He had a long run against maybe Virginia, but he is a pure pocket quarterback. That changes Louisville a lot. Against Clemson, when he came in the second half, he was 13 of 23 for 175 yards, touchdown, and an interception. But I think they only scored 7 points in the second half without Malik Cunningham. So, look, if Cunningham can't go, you can see a path for where NC State can get that kind of low-scoring affair. And you put your trust in your defense, and then it becomes a game of big plays. Now, they have big play receivers. They always have had at Louisville. They love those really fast wideouts outside. So if you can limit their big plays, Tyler Hutchinson in particular, then you can keep them maybe in check. If Cunningham can't go, if Cunningham goes, then you're going to have to say, hey, look, they can't put it all on the defense here. Offense is going to have to do something. As banged up as they might be, they're going to have to do something. But if Cunningham does not play, you start saying, okay, can you find a way where it's similar to the Syracuse game offensively, where you, instead of settling for 3 field goals, maybe get a touchdown or 2 in the red zone, and would that be enough against Louisville with their backup quarterback? So if I Tony Gibson, I asked him straight up, what's the first thing you're going to do on Saturday? He said, I'm going to go look to see if Malik Cunningham, he's going to be out there early, looking to see if Malik Cunningham's in the game. So that is such a huge element to the game. It really can't go understated enough.
Well, the defense certainly deserves a strong finish to the year. 2 more games left in the regular season. The bowl opportunities at stake here. If NC State can finish strong, respectable, 8-4, 9-3 record, would expect a good bowl game. Last I checked, even after this embarrassing loss to Boston College, I saw NC State projected in the Holiday Bowl against Washington. I saw NC State projected in the Cheez-It Bowl, aka the Citrus Bowl down in Orlando. So a couple good bowls there that NC State would be able to play a respectable strong Power 5 opponent. So still things to play for. And of course, you got the Tar Heels next week. I mean, that speaks for itself. So anyways, we've run out of time to talk about basketball. That's okay. we really don't know that much about this basketball team yet. We're going to learn a lot more next week, and we will have some analysis on the Wolfpack. Closing out this podcast, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. We're also on YouTube, where you should subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment while you're at it. Follow us on social media at the Wolfpacker is our main account on Twitter. You can follow me personally at Justin H. Will on Twitter. Give us a like on Facebook, NC State Wolfpack on the Wolfpacker.com, and head over to the Wolfpacker.com, where you should take advantage of a special deal for just $10. You can get premium subscription to the Wolfpacker.com as part of the On3 network through the beginning of next college football season. So that takes you through the end of August 2023. That's a lot of time. Got the rest of football season left. I mean, heck, you want to know the deal with MJ Morris. I mean, Matt is even keel. He's not gonna tell you anything that he doesn't know. So, you see Twitter rumors out there. You want to know the truth. Head over to Wolfpacker.com. Take advantage of that special deal, $10 premium subscription through the end of next August. Last and certainly not least, head over to rogueshop.com. That's ROGUE shop.com for premium CBD and Delta 8 cannabis products. They've got all kinds of great products, cartridges, oils, lotions, tinctures, all kinds of great stuff, edibles, very tasty edibles, may I say. Proud sponsors of the Wolfpacker Podcast, husband and wife outfit. The husband is a disabled veteran that was turned on to these natural products to help treat some of his anxiety and stress, trouble sleeping at night, chronic pain and inflammation. If you feel like you suffer from some of these symptoms, and you're looking for a more natural way to, help mitigate some of those symptoms, then head over to rogueshop.com. They've got some great products that are going to really help you out, and take advantage of their chat feature. You'll be talking to a real life human being, not a robot. It is a small business. rogueshop.com, proud sponsors of the Wolfpacker Podcast. So if you support us, you can support us by supporting them. So head over there, rogueshop.com. That's ROGUE shop.com. And that is going to do it for this Wolfpacker Podcast. For Matt Carter, I'm Justin Williams, and this has been the Wolfpacker Podcast.